there I think scares a lot of people. It's not really that hard. I've kind of come up with a system, and you guys can add your little bits to it in the video if you've got little tricks to do it. What I found, it's really not that hard. I think people get scared. It's really not that. This should be pretty. If you put the car on level ground, this is plumb. This is plumb. If you go look at cars at car shows, look at the edge of the bumper. This is also plumb. Yeah, they're within 1/8 of an inch of each other. They're kind of twisted. They were that way from the factory. Don't get too uptight about that number. They were never even close to spot on. But if you just use that as a reference to get it close, that will work, because what we're going to do to go on the workbench, if you get those two plumb in a relationship to each other, the aluminum and the carbon fiber, now when you put it on the bench to bond them together, now it's level. We can use that as a reference between the two to get them, and then back and forth we can put marks between the two, and that'll get them left to right. With the back brace bolted to the standoffs, each one is slotted. The aluminum has the horizontal slots, the brace has the vertical. I start off centered, so the T's are centered. It's in the middle of the range. There's lots of different factors of these cars, because this is attached to the frame. The bumper fillers are attached to the body. The two are on bushings. Also, the factory bumper had shims between it and the standoffs. We provide shims with them too. You'll probably need something. You shouldn't have to shim it all wonky, but just straight in or straight out, depending on how it fits. I have found that if you have a factory brace, it does fit a little different than the aftermarket one. They're pretty close, but a little different. That's why you want to fit it on the car and just see if you need to move something around before you bond them together, so you have equal adjustment going both ways. With this bonded on, you can now take the carbon fiber skin, it's a nice piece, put it on here, just kind of a mock-up, and it should, on my car, it's about 1/2 inch gap on each side. Now, see how it fits. Now remember we talked about that torpedo level I put on the standoff? Well, now I'm going to put it on the side of the bumper. Looks like we're pretty close there. Check the other side, pretty close there. With even gaps on both sides, now what you do, I don't know where my red pencil went, but that's fine. Go underneath here and you can make a mark between the aluminum and the carbon fiber. That'll give you your left to right adjustment that will transfer over when you're on the bench bonding them together. So now you know where it fits this way and left to right, and that's as good as you're going to get to take it onto the bench. Back at the shop now, what we did earlier is we said, as you remember, this part and this part, checked them for plumb. Now we're just going to rotate the torpedo level 90 degrees. We got level. So checking it here for level, it's within 1/8 of an inch. Checking it here, looking good. Same with this edge, we're pretty close on there, so that's kind of about where that's going to go. One thing I did notice on there, it doesn't sit perfectly flat. There's just a little, maybe 1/8 of an inch under the ends to close them up. I want it to squish out really nice, so what I did is I bridged the carbon fiber between a couple padded blocks, so there's a gap underneath, and it requires maybe about 5 pounds to close up. You know, every part's a little different, so you don't know. So I put that on there, now it's closed up. There was also a little gap I didn't like between the two parts right here. Everything else fit nice. I just put a little clamp there. What I don't recommend doing is clamping the pieces together this way. I tried doing that on one and screwed it up. Clamped the area that I ran the epoxy in, and then when I released it, it had a little dimple in there and it wouldn't come out because that's where the epoxy was holding it to that shape. So don't do that. You know, have a good looking part. Epoxy we've had good luck with, and I know other people have, this Simpson Strong Tie. It's a 2-part epoxy, sets up pretty much overnight. We've had, there's probably other stuff you can use, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, other people that are smarter than me on doing these things, but we've had good luck with it, and that's what I use. So right now, I've got my red marks between the aluminum and the carbon fiber, left to right. I've got my plumb, or my level here and here, so I've got it that way. So this is where it should go to bond. So now what I would do, I would take all the weight off, take it apart, run my epoxy down the two rails here where they squish together, making sure there's lots and it squishes out really nice. You want to do the cooking shows is I take it out of the oven. But as you can see, it's we got a good squish there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's it's really rigid. It's a single unit, very strong, very light. So now you have three options really that I didn't describe in the last one. This is if you want really lightweight. This is our complete carbon fiber option. In fact, if you want it lighter, you can even cut the center section out like a lot of the fiberglass ones have. But the center section, it only adds, I think, about 2 pounds or 1.5 pounds, and adds a lot of structural integrity. Once again, these are for off-road use only, so, but you can buy this just as the shell, the skin. Here's the rear one, carbon fiber, or you can bond it to the aluminum. So you got 3 different options, and we'll see how this sells. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good because it's an untapped market. It's something no one's gone after before, and I'm hoping sales are good. And please, I'd love to have feedback. This is how I bond them together. I want to open discussion. Put in there how you think, if you've got any tricks or tips that would make this go easier. I'm all for it. Please post up in the videos. I'm not going to put prices because prices may change on these, but I think bang for buck, it's a great deal. It's a good wintertime project. And thank you much. Visit us on spoolfoolproductions.com. And yeah, thank you much. I want to point out for parts like this, any of our parts, I try my best to not put any more money in the pockets of UPS or FedEx. So call me for the vendors nearest you. A lot of these, even some of the clubs, the Magna guys, Turbo Farm, we try and get them free delivery there in bulk. That way we can somehow weasel and pipeline them to the people without shipping them from California. So yeah, call for nearest vendor, and we'll get you there, and we'll try and save you some money.